Hey everybody, welcome back to Change Your Perspective, Change Your Awareness, Change Your Life. I am Dr. Michelina, hashtag that felon doctor, here to talk about the last two wounds. We're going to talk about the political wound. Now, this one I almost don't even have to go in on too much. Let's be honest. I could probably put political and financial together because they're so obvious that I don't even really need to go into them. Let's start with the politics of the United States, shall we? Just for fun. I will say, having moved to North Carolina, politically, we're still extraordinarily divided in that there are still Confederate flags that hang loud and proud in the South. Right? In this sort of the Confederacy, what it symbolizes at its core is a division between the North and the South. Now, people are saying, it goes back to the Civil War in the 1850s, right? 1860s. People are saying, and have been saying, that we have not seen civil unrest, civil disharmony in this country, such as, that we're seeing now, since then. Let's be honest, it hasn't been that long. It's only been about, 130 years, 150 years. It hasn't been that long. Maybe my math is off there, guys. 1850, 170. Okay, so even still, this country hasn't been founded for that long. So the United States politically has always been kind of a cluster. Fuck. And so when we look at that, it's almost impossible to not have that wound because we're impacted by it no matter where we go politically. We have a bipartisan system that people don't care for. People hate Republicans, they hate Democrats. We wish we had a third option. We don't. Everything is kind of, I was going to say rigged, and then I was like, well, I don't want to say that word. It's we're not talking about rigging elections here, but we're talking about how the system doesn't really serve in the same way. We don't love the system, the Electoral College. People don't like the way things are decided in this country. It's very convoluted. It was supposed to be a series of checks and balances, and now it's just a series of complete confusion and chaos. Our political system, which is different to some degree, but not completely, from our judicial system, which I've talked about elsewhere, they inform each other. Now, I didn't realize that. I never knew until I got involved in legalities. I didn't realize how important policies and politics were and are. So, what I had going on as a felon in New Jersey changed and shifted because of the Democratic governor there versus in North Carolina. So that was a very strange thing. I didn't realize, having never been involved in any legal systems before, I didn't realize how closely they were related, but they're very closely related, our politic and our judicial systems. And so, of course, they're both I don't want to say inherently broken, but they are certainly flawed, and they are definitely not nearly as effective as potentially they once were. Most people can tell you now that the political system, the governmental system, is way too top heavy. It's trying to get way too involved in everybody's stuff. It's just, politics are a rough place to be right now, let's be honest. And so that's just in the United States, right? That's just in the United States. If we come out to a worldview, this is why politics are so hard, by the way. Is because there's so many different subjects is not the word I'm looking for. There's so many different little subsects is the word I'm looking for. Subsects of it. As an example, I'm going to go back to the United States because I'm here. We have one president and federal laws, but we also have state laws that are run by the governors. There's a lot of tricky things going on there. And so you have this very large country that is very divided and subjected to various laws. What happens in New Jersey isn't what happens in Utah, isn't what happens in Florida, isn't what happens in Texas, isn't what happens in North Carolina. And it's the heck is that? There's always new laws to learn. And that's just the United States. Then you get to all these different countries, right? And then we have all these different policies, and it's just impossible for anybody to really make any good policies or systems, even though we have to, because that's the point of politics, right? We're making laws to abide by, we're making rules to abide by, and of course, we always want to question who is making the rules and why, and also how. There's this thing that, the golden rule, treat others how you want to be treated. Well, the ironic thing is, like, the new golden rule is those who have the gold make the rules. And that's why everybody's got a political wound. Because it always follows the money. And so when it comes down to it, politics occur at the whim of whoever's got the most money. And people will try to argue that, especially in the United States, where it's like, oh no, Democrats do this and Republicans do this and blah, blah, blah. You want to go back, and check out the, beginning of these parties, because things have shifted over time. Things have shifted over time. Stances have shifted over time. And so if you really want to do an interesting study, especially with the United States, go ahead and do a historical background check on the Democrats and the Republicans. Which, by the way, was at one time, and Hamilton will tell you this, the Democratic Republicans was its own party in the 1776s, right? So just a heads up on that. It was the Federalists and the Democratic Republicans who were at war with each other. And we've always had a bipartisan system, and it's always been flawed. Hamilton, if you've ever heard that Broadway soundtrack or seen that Broadway musical, does a fantastic job of highlighting the issues even then, in 1776, when they had just made all of the declarations. So where are we now, 45 presidents later? So our system is very internally flawed. The structure of it is problematic. And so, of course, you're going to find a lot of malcontent and discontent from the people. So the political wound is very, very easy to see because there's a natural divide there. There's always a natural divide in the political wound. You're naturally falling to one side or another because those are your only options. And the third option doesn't really exist. If you even get that option, United States, we do. Other places you don't. You think Russia's getting that option? You think North Korea's getting that option? No. Do you even think Britain is getting a real option? I mean, they've got parliament, but we know how powerful the monarchy is. So, no. People aren't really getting any options politically. We get the illusion of choice politically. That's all we get. That's all any of us get. So of course we all have a wound there because we all feel a little helpless there. And wounds really stem out of places that we're helpless. We have no control. We don't feel safe. And of course, we're supposed to be putting our faith in this political system that's supposed to be for the people, and it's very much not for the people because the people don't like it. So we all have a political wound. And it's a very powerless feeling. And I'm just bringing awareness around this at this point because there's really, and this is the sad truth, nothing you can do about it. The political wound and the financial, which I'll talk about tomorrow, which also Hamilton talks about because they come together kind of simultaneously. Everybody's got a political wound. Some people have a financial wound. Everybody's got a education wound. Some people have a church wound. Everybody's got a political wound because we're all trapped in a system we don't care for, can't fully understand, can't do a damn thing about, even if we wanted to. You can't fight the law and win. You can't fight the system and win. And so it's so big, you can't even trust what you hear anymore. Right? So yes, we all have a political wound. And really, it's just a matter, now I'm not trying to be anti-system or anti-government. I'm trying to be very realistic about the flaws and issues in a system that we are all subject to, regardless of where we live, right? And so it just, unfortunately, political wound is what it is. And so what I suggest, honestly, is not getting bogged down in the what of the thing, right? Because petty squabbles that ensue from political wounds keeps everybody very small. And I don't love to do that. As an example, people that, I'm close to that feel a different way about the political system than I do, I'm like, this is not a conversation we can have because we are going to disagree. We're not going to see eye to eye. So there's no point to having this conversation. There's virtually none. And so once that conversation, if a person, I'm thinking one specific person in my life who does this, if they embark on the political discussion, I'm like, hey, you already know we're not going to see eye to eye here, and neither of us are open-minded to hear the other person's opinion. That's actually not true. I am, he's not. But like, we're not open-minded enough to have this discussion, so let's not have it, right? Because that's really the thing that comes down with the political wound, is that people are entrenched in their side, trying to project it on other people. And it's like, there's no room for open thought. There's no room for open discussion because they're so ingrained in the fact that my side's the right side. The correct side, rather. Not the right and the left, the correct side. And it's like, yeah, that's closed-minded. It closes down the narrative. It's not very productive. You're not necessarily right or wrong. Like, it's not, you're picking a hill to die on that's not very productive. But okay. And for me, I'm like, that's not a conversation I care to have, because there's no right. It's just going to be a debate. That's the whole point. The political wound is problematic because all it breeds is dissension. All it breeds is distrust. All it breeds is debate. All it breeds is debacle. Like, that's why the political wound is such a tough thing. And I will just say why it gets propagated so very much in these times that we're in that are super combative, you know. It's just it's a lit match, you know. It's very easy. The political wound is very easy to throw on a fire and incite it. So that's political wound. And I will say this one is the hardest one because it's the biggest one. It's the one we could do the least about. It's extraordinarily prevalent all over the place, and it breeds a lot of dissension, you know. There's very little, I don't want to say there's very little good that comes out of it, but kind of. There's very little good that comes out of it, which is a shame, you know. But you guys can feel free to disagree with me on that one. You know, that's my own personal opinion. I just am trying to kind of call it as I see it. And like I said, like, the hard thing about the last 2 elections in the United States, at least, is it's a 50-50 shot. So 50% of the people are not happy. Like, if you look at the polls, if you look at the 50, it's like 50-50. People are, half the population is dissatisfied. Like, that's always a recipe for failure, you know. That's why I say the political wound is a tricky one, and that a lot of good doesn't come from. That being said, then I guess that's better than some of the other places that exist where nobody's happy, you know. But alas, political wound's a tough one. So let us conclude there. I will hit financial tomorrow. I didn't realize I was gonna have so much to say, but I always have so much to say, so who's shocked? I hope you're enjoying. We're almost at the end of this series. I hope you're enjoying it, and we will see what I bring to you next. If you have any suggestions, comment below. And then, like I have been mentioning, these last 4 wounds are not things that can be healed. They're just things to be talked about. But if you are interested in any of the content on this page, you're definitely going to want to look into the school that my team and I have built to help you come home to self, change your mindsets, change your belief systems, change your body function, change your embodiment, like all of these things that we have done. I will drop the link below. The school is officially open. Check it out. It will definitely serve you at high levels, and I've made it very affordable so that people can get really great insight, healing content for a fair price. So that being said, and of course a community there too. So that being said, like, comment, subscribe, tell your friends, hit the bell, and I'll see you guys in the next video.